And welcome back to the show. The Police Athletic League, better known as the PAL, provides recreational, educational, cultural, and social activities to over 20,000 youth annually. Now, the PAL, together with the NYPD and law enforcement community, supports and inspires New York City youth to realize their full individual potential as productive members of society. Sharing a little bit more is the Chief of Programs at the Police Athletic League, Danielle Madden-Buck. Danielle, glad to have you here.
Thank you, Daren. Thank you for having me.
So I told you at the beginning, I said, well, this is like a no-brainer for me because I'm a PAL kid. I grew up in the streets of Harlem. I should say streets of Harlem, but in the streets of Harlem. And that's where I was. And I remember our Police Athletic League. It was very huge for me because it gave me a place to go that I could actually play basketball and then also cultivate relationships. So share with us a little bit more about the PAL and the work that it's doing to really cultivate relationships, but not just do some relationship building, but also some community building as well.
Well, as you know, the Police Athletic League has been around since 1914. And, you know, I think we're more impactful now than ever, especially coming out of a pandemic. You know, during the pandemic, we shifted over to virtual programming and then started in-person programming. And this summer, we serviced over 4,500 kids citywide. In summer camps, we had play streets, we had street games, we had teen centers. Specifically in the Bronx, we had like over 800 participants citywide. So we've done a lot this summer.
Yeah. And one of the things that's been done actually through all of this is really building that bridge. And we know that there's that growing tension between community and law enforcement. And sometimes it doesn't seem to get any better. But I do know that through the work of things such as the PAL, there's a gap that's actually being bridged.
Absolutely. I think it's important that kids get to know law enforcement officers. And I think it's important for law enforcement officers to get to know the community and the kids in the community. Actually, I think it was about a month ago, Police Commissioner Shea came to our Webster PAL and was playing kids one-on-one in basketball. We have our Saturday Night Lights program over on Webster Avenue. We have it at other locations, including the South Bronx Center and in Manhattan, the Holland Center, the same center you mentioned that you went to. And, you know, officers are there every Saturday and they don't just, you know, hang around. They get to know the kids. They get to play. Also, our Play Street and Street Game program, the kids come out. The officers come out, the community comes out. We have double dutch, we have basketball. We actually have dodgeball too. The kids get to play dodgeball against the officers, which is a lot of fun for both the kids and the officers. So, you know, the officers have been very involved. And this school year, starting in September, we're really pushing to make one of our core components at PAL is our junior police program. Really so the kids understand, you know, what it takes to be an officer, but allow to open the conversation between the officers and the kids about their role and what it's like to be an officer. And, you know, for the kids to understand what it's like, you know, for day to day and vice versa.
How would you gauge the impact between, you know, having law enforcement community and particularly the young people have that opportunity to interface with one another and it's not on a negative level?
I think it's great. What I've noticed is through the years, before my role as chief of programs, I was also director of sports at one point. And what I've noticed is, especially with the teen population, like little kids, they sit there and they're like, wow, there's a police officer, and they get to know the officer. Teenagers is a little bit different because some teenagers may not have a great experience with the police. And what I've noticed is throughout the years, we've had some certain situations where an officer would go and he would get a phone call and he would have to go over to a house or go over to a building. And there were a couple of times they saw the kids that they played basketball with. So it was like, hey, I know you and I know you. So it allowed them to say like, hey, that officer's pretty cool, you know, telling their friends that as well. So it allows them to be looked at as humans also, not just, you know, based on their uniform.
Right.
So.
We know a lot of work goes on during the summer, but you also talked a little bit about school. And yes, it's hard to believe, but school is right around the corner. And after school programs are really huge at the PAL. Give us a little bit about the work that's being done after school to really make sure the kids don't miss the mark.
Yeah, so we have a lot of STEM and literacy programs within. We know obviously with the pandemic happening, there has been a learning loss in general. Every summer there's a learning loss, but this year in particular, being that most of the classes were remote. So we do have emphasis on STEM literacy. One of the things that we're actually implementing this year is entrepreneurship skills, teaching kids financial literacy. So those are the major things, but we really do put an emphasis on that. And this year, even more than ever, social emotional learning, just because, this pandemic has hit not only the city, but nationally and globally. So it's affected all of us.
I know that for me growing up, that was a key place to be at the PAL, to do what I did. It was a good part of my teen development. Are you still finding that teens are really benefiting from having an opportunity to participate in PAL programs?
Yes, absolutely. This summer, we actually made sure that we kept all of our teen centers open in the summer. Traditionally, we weren't open all the time in the summer with our teen centers. We've actually moved our schedule around to make sure that we were open in evenings and on weekends, because weekends is important, especially for our teenagers. And I would say with our teenagers, we have acting programs. Our acting program is actually overseen by Tony Danza, who, obviously everybody knows Tony Danza from Who's the Boss, and Taxi. And he's amazing with the kids. And so is Brian Hills, who's the director of our acting program itself. We have resume writing. We have sports and recreation, and we actually have internships. We just actually finished a internship with Madison Square Garden. So we have that. We had SYEP this summer. We had 1,000 kids in SYEP. So, our teams right now, we're putting a major focus on our teen population, because I think it's beneficial for them to be a part of the PAL and just be involved and have opportunities.
Yeah, almost got to get out of here because we're out of time, but I want to make sure that I get an opportunity to talk about this. I remember back in the day, it still goes on, the PAL Play Streets. If somebody doesn't know about a Play Street, tell them what it is.
So Play Street is where we shut down the street and we just let the kids play. So it's, we have double dutch, they use chalk. Right now we have one on 196th and Bainbridge in the Bronx. And it's just a place where kids get to know the officers and they, take over the street. And it brings us back to our traditional days of playing in the street. So, and we still have those running right now.
Yeah, well, I know this obviously very beneficial. It was definitely, in my growing up, a staple in what I did. And I know it's a staple for a lot of kids in their lives as well. Danielle, thank you so much for being with us.
Thank you so much for having me. I appreciate it.
All righty. Well, we want to let you know that if you want more information, we encourage you to visit the website at palnyc.org. And then also, we want you to do us a favor as well. Visit them on social media at PAL New York.